So I just had a quick question. So about half of Obamacare really is just the regulations alone. Does this legislation or this plan do anything to combat the 20,000 pages of regulations that came with it? Also, side note is anything that has to do with health insurance company bailouts. I'd like to know anything about that too.
Yeah,
Senator.
That's good questions. I think that if we look, particularly the Justice Department filing this week on the state lawsuit against Obamacare. If you look at the Supreme Court rulings on this, if you look at anything people said, they say that there are three pillars of Obamacare that must stand together. One is the entitlement, the second is the mandates, and then the third is the regulatory scheme. This proposal repeals the entitlement, as I said, as Senator Santorum pointed out, the individual mandate's already gone. We've recommended repeal of the employer mandate. With respect to regulations, we have put forth the following. We have said that states would be free from the single risk pool requirement, which is something that Senator Cruz and others talked a lot about last summer during the Senate debate. That they would be freed from the essential health benefits requirement. That they would be freed from the some of the other requirements around this. We have not recommended that they be freed from the pre-existing condition requirement. And this is something that, again, it's not because we don't support it, but because of, as Senator Santorum said, we're looking for 50 votes. I don't know if any of you saw it, but when the Justice Department action was filed this week, calling for repeal of the court to strike down guarantee issue and community rating requirements, Senator McConnell jumped out and said every single senator supports the pre-existing condition protections in Obamacare. And I will tell you that there was not a groundswell of crying out from Republican senators saying, well, wait a minute, I don't support that. I don't know of any Republican Senate or House candidate that's running saying we want to repeal pre-existing conditions. And we don't think that you could get 50 votes for that. Now, having said that, if they write a bill that does that and it's able to pass and become law, we're absolutely for it. But we believe that by freeing states from the age rating, by requiring them to have risk mitigation program, by freeing them up from the essential health benefits and single risk pool requirements, with the short-term limited duration plans we hope being out there, with the association health plans being out there, we think all of those will result in combination for lower costs and more choices for individuals. We also believe that if we break this Washington-centric Obamacare structure and get this out to the states, that states increasingly will demand the ability to get out from under some of these regulatory requirements. This bill, in our view, is part of a larger, and it is going to be perhaps a generation-long approach to move us away from the single-payer polarity and toward a consumer-based market system. Turning this ship around, which is now speeding toward the single-payer iceberg, is going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, but we think this is a significant movement in the right direction.
And to reinforce I'm sorry, Senator, yes, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to add to that the administration is moving forward on short-term limited duration plans, and the group strongly supports guaranteed renewability of those plans and recommending that the funds that are available in the block grant can be used for not just sharing ministries, but can be used for these short-term limited duration plans. So what we've essentially done, the administration is going to do, and the legislation will codify that, is allow for two risk pools. It's really what Senator Cruz and Senator Lee had argued for last year, which is a second risk pool that is not federally regulated. The short-term limited duration market is not federally regulated, and with the Trump administration actions that are due out in August or September, combined with this legislation, we would create a viable second marketplace that would be free of all federal regulation. Now, the states obviously could regulate these markets, and some have, but most states have not weighed in and done a lot of regulation on these short-term limited duration markets. So we have, in fact, one of the criticisms, one of the concerns that some members who I've talked to have is with the short-term limited duration market, we could be accused of undermining a guaranteed issue, and so what and pre-existing condition clauses. But the reality is we're going to keep that for the Obamacare market, if you will, that regulated market. And so anybody with a pre-existing condition in the individual small group market will have a marketplace that they can reside. And going back to what Doug said, with the money that we are dedicating for risk mitigation, what that means is risk mitigation in plain speak means we are giving states money to pay for sick people and making sure that sick people are not distorting the insurance pool. Well, that means lower premiums for everybody, not just people who are sick.
And that is something that Obamacare didn't do, to reinforce Senator Santorum's point, that they put everybody, and Doug's point, they put everybody who had been in the high-risk pools earlier into the same market with everybody else. And, of course, what's happened is that you find more and more sicker and older people in those pools, driving out the younger, healthy people. So those markets are really collapsing. And Ed Heiselmeyer from Heritage has done some research showing that the market for individual health insurance, the participants in the individual health insurance market, is no bigger now than it was before Obamacare passed. So we've gone through all of this consternation, and we really haven't added anybody to private health insurance. Almost all of the expansion has gone through the Medicaid expansion platform. So the risk mitigation money is really designed to allow those markets to work better by providing extra subsidies and the ability for states to be able to provide ways to make sure that the sicker people that have high risk and may have pre-existing conditions have extra funding and maybe even separate risk pools if you decide, so that premiums can be lower for everybody else. So I've got several people in the call. John Hart, you've been very patient. I'm